Shishini. Top of the morning, the afternoon, and the evening to you, whomever you may be, wherever you may be watching, looking, or listening. It's your boy, Anthony Moore. Ant Mo, for those of you who may not know for sure. But welcome to You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh. On today's show, it's simple. Dak Prescott, did we underestimate you, dog? Have you finally exercised some of those demons? Is it time to put some respect on his name? Michael Parsons, did he silence the critics? Is it time to move on? Are you still mad, Gina? Jerry Jones, was he right after all? We'll get into that and more on today's episode of You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh. Now, for those of you who may not know, if your first time watching, looking, or listening, we desire that you stick and stay. You come on back round now, you hear? You show them boys how you do it up in Harlem there, boy. And if you've been rocking with the network for any considerable amount of time, I love you from the bottom of my corazon. You feel me? And so, as I just introed, man, we talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We are talking about Dak Prescott. We are talking about Micah Parsons. What do the numbers say? What do your eyes tell you? Is this team actually, if the offense is going to play this way, if CD Lamb is actually on the field, we've seen what George Pickens did, is it time to say that the Dallas Cowboys, if the offense is going to click like this, are they ready for the big time? This face belongs on the tissue. Man, welcome, and welcome again. Stick and stay, you feel me? Welcome to the network. So let's get into it, man. So for those of you who may not know, if you've been living under a sports rock for any considerable reason or amount of time, your Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And in return, the Green Bay Packers made Micah Parsons the highest non-quarterback ever to be paid in the NFL, with a considerable large lump sum of money to be paid to him as well. Okay. Now this caused what most unpopular, popular, middle of the road, those of you who know facts, don't know facts, it caused an uproar in the sports world. Now in return, we got a solid middle big boy space heater Clark to do what he does, who had a great impact on the game, and we got some draft picks. Now when this happened, we said, well, you can circle game 4. You can circle game 4, kinfolk, because Dallas Cowboys versus your Green Bay Packers is going to be one for the ages. And considering how the last playoff game went when they dropped the 40 burger on us, if you add Michael Parsons to the mix, the most athletic, most gifted, most speediest guy you've ever seen in your whole entire life, wowzers, then we should be expecting to see something very, very interesting happen. Now, before we go knee deep off in there, and I hate the fact that we got to keep moving this around, but we got LaShonda Reese in the building, says stick and stay. Hey, I see what you did there. You did a little rhyme of time, you feel me? But welcome. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of You Gonna Get These Sports, bro, from the Mind of Man Network. And we thank you for tuning in and chiming in. So yes, if you're one of those people who were so amazed and intrigued at the greatness of Micah Parsons, then this gave you a little uneasiness to see that this trade happened some weeks ago, right? Before the season started. Well, as we're going to look at these stats, and I'm really kind of mad at the NFL, to be honest with you, because you gave Micah Parsons a sack on a play where the Cowboys didn't lose yardage. In fact, if you really want to look at it, it appeared that Dak Prescott actually moved forward to the 13. I'm not here to argue with you on semantics. They were already at the 14. If you say he got tackled at the 14, it is not a sack if you get tackled in the same spot. It is only considered a sack, and correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm some football enthusiast who don't know what he's talking about, I don't mind you correcting me. But by the letter of the law, a sack means you lose yardage. Am I right about this, or am I wrong about this? If we're in the same spot, it's not a sack. The Cowboys didn't go from second or third and at the 4 or goal. If they didn't go from second or third goal at the 14 or whatever to the 15. They were at the 14, and I could argue they were at the 13 or 3. I'm sorry. I got my numbers mixed up. They weren't second or third in goal from the 4, or I mean the 5. They were at the 4. So if you didn't lose yardage, it's not a sack. So by those stats, Michael Parsons had three tackles and 1 considerable sack. Now, do what you do, whatever. I ain't gonna argue with you about it. But the big bad Green Bay Packers came into Cowboy country and walked away with a tie, 40-40. Now, let me also say this: the NFL absolutely got this one wrong. In an attempt to do money grab stuff, we are placating. All right, this is gonna turn into college football here really soon, and some aspects of it I am not mad about, but there are some other aspects that I'm just not a fan of. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. The rule has always been and always should have been the first team to get the ball. If you score a touchdown, it's over. Okay? Now, I think that might have been how they changed it. I thought it might have been any score and it's over. Okay, fine. That didn't work out. You look at the Bills versus Kansas City, and that changed the trajectory of how this went, right? If we would have had a chance to get the ball, then we could have answered back or whatever, right? Cool. So now, if I get the ball and I score 7, the game is over. If I get the ball and I kick a field goal, no, that's not true. They get a chance to answer. They get a chance to answer regardless. So either way, the Cowboys get the ball, they kick a field goal. They run a considerable amount of time off the clock. Your Green Bay Packers get the ball. It's getting down to the wire. 4th down, they convert. Now, while the Cowboys did not send pressure against an offense that they had not proven to stop all game consistently, is neither here nor there for me. I don't understand it. I will not understand it. But what's good, Bruce Wayne Glass for full? How you doing, my brother? Welcome to You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh. And we talking Packers, we talking Cowboys, and we will talk some Commanders. So you don't go nowhere. You stick and stay as well. Make sure you hit that like button for your boy Bruce Glass. But so the Packers get the ball, and first of all, the Cowboys get down in the red zone, and they don't find a way to score. That's when I knew that it wasn't gonna end well. Because a tie doesn't end well for me, a win or a loss. Bama beat them dogs, you right. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I had a busy day. I mean, I was at work. I saw the end result, but as soon as I saw that, I said, man, one person you don't want to bet against is Bruce Wayne Glass when it comes to making these picks. He said, hey, I truly believe that Bama is gonna go for the upset against Georgia. And I ain't mad at that because your boy said he got a beat down for me in fantasy. Now, let me just update you on this really quick. So first of all, Bruce Glass, let me tell you how your boy beating him down real bad because I'm playing said this week. Before Tyreek Hill got injured, he left me. He got me 12.7 points. He appears to have a dislocated knee, but 180 to 110. I don't know if you can see that. I might not focus in. Hold on. Yeah, 180 to 110, my guy. Beat the brakes off of that boy. A 70 ball. And that's my first win of the season, so I can't say much, but I will take what I can get. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so he took down goes Frazier. You know what I'm saying? Georgia loses to Alabama. This is by far not one of the better Alabama teams, but as Sid likes to put out so eloquently, this also isn't one of the better Georgia teams. Now, the problem with that is you can't beat them bragging about beating Appalachian State and Austin Peay, a Tennessee team that they typically are going to beat anyway. And he likes to bring up facts and stats that don't really matter. But then when he loses, it's like, well, of course, they aren't that good. I don't want to hear it. You take that loss with you. Your saving grace is that your Atlanta Falcons beat your Washington Commanders. And it is what it is. But anyway, back to Cowboys and Packers. So Cowboys drive down. They take some decent time off the clock in overtime. And The play calling gets iffy, and we gotta give credit where credit is due. These guys get paid to do their job just the same as the Cowboys do. So we won't say it's terrible play calling who had put up 37 points to that fact against what's supposed to be a stout, very dictative defense, adding Micah Parsons as well to the pass rush. So for the Cowboys, who are supposed to be a bottom of the barrel team, to put up 40 points, man, let me take that off, I'm sorry. To put up 40 points against that defense, I gotta say, man, I was actually very impressed by Rain Dakota Prescott. Bruce Glass, please tell me what you think about the play of Rain Dakota Prescott. And I've been calling him this for years. Ain't no disrespect. That's that man's name. His mama call him Rain. I'm going to call him Rain. But he answered the bell every time. Every time Jordan Love came down and scored, moved the ball, they showed Dak, and he was over there with some supposed back issues. He's stretching. He's doing all of this. And he comes right out there. I don't even remember him almost throwing a pick, and that is something that he's known for doing. For those of you who have not seen any content over the years, I've talked for years ad nauseum about Dak Prescott finding the best way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory against playoff teams specifically. Yeah, he'll beat up on bottom of the barrel teams. He'll beat up on the NFC least when nobody was really good but the Cowboys. But when it came to Packers, when it came to even a showing like against the Bears was just atrocious. Any top tier team, he finds a way to spit the bit. And I must say, Brian Schottenheimer, good job. Good job, buddy. I gotta say, Dak Prescott, good job. Hey, man, for the Gipper, but for the defense. Did we play against the? Did you smell that? I think I'm just playing around with these sounds a little bit. I'm sorry, but did you smell that? I think it was the Cowboys defense. Oh, okay. That was the Cowboys defense. That's how we feel about it. Giving up 40 points is always terrible, especially considering the showing that we had last week against the Chicago Bears. But if the Dallas Cowboys offense is going to show up anything similar to that, I'm not saying scoring 40 every week, but anything similar to that, Jerry, it might be time to make a couple of plays, couple of trades to get somebody in here who's capable of getting a decent pass rush. And for all you, well, you have Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons doesn't play well against playoff teams, bucko. That's the first thing. Number two, it takes more than one player on the defensive side of the ball, on the end, to disrupt and dismantle a defense. Because even if he's good enough to warrant double and triple teams, if your other players aren't good, it doesn't matter. So let's just get that out of the way. Okay. Bruce said Dak is not the problem so far this season. Now, I respect your football mind. So I'll ask you, outside of the obvious of saying the defense, the secondary, because most people aren't talking about the secondary, who I also, let me tell you how I did this, Bruce. I started Jordan Love. I started Dobbs because I'm like, anybody that is an offensive weapon for the Packers is gonna eat greedy. To the tune of 100, I don't know if he had 100 and something yards, but he had 3 touchdowns for sure. Dobbs is probably Jordan Love's favorite target, and that contributed to my 180 points that I have right now. So only thing I knew, I didn't know if the Cowboys were gonna win or lose. I expected them to get blown out, but I didn't expect for them to score 40 points, and I did not expect for it to be an offensive explosion like it was. So, here's the question. Two questions. Number one, for the person who may be watching this on the replay, anybody hopping in on the live. Number one, Is it time for us to put away the notion that Dak Prescott isn't this top tier elite quarterback? That's the first question. Is it time to stop hating on Dak, put some respect on his name? This is clearly his franchise, and he was worth this money, even based off of what we've seen thus far this season. So that's the first question. The second question is, who you got, Dak or Romo? Do you got Rain Dakota Prescott, or do you got Tony Fettuccine Romo? What can go wrong will go wrong. So, with that question being posed here, I just have a few stats. For us to look at and reconvene with. So, here we go. All right. So, if we look at these numbers here, this is the career numbers of Dak Prescott thus far, and we have Tony Romo career totals. If we're looking at games played, Tony Romo had a lot of tenure in this league as a Dallas Cowboy participant at quarterback, 156 games. Romo has played 31 more games than Dak Prescott. So I can already say that these numbers are they're going to look very good in in Dak Prescott's favor. Passing attempts, 4,285 passing attempts for Dak Prescott already to Tony Romo's 4,335. So Romo has more passing attempts, but in far less games, Dak is already looking like he's going to be eclipsing what Tony Romo has done. That is going to happen this season easily. Completions. Now, let me look a little closer. Dak Prescott already has more completions than Tony Romo. Now, to be fair, who is the greatest receiver? And for those in the, I'll ask you, Bruce Glass. Oh, Bruce Glass says it's Dak. Bruce Glass says it's Dak and it ain't close. So let me ask you this. Oh, accidente. Let me get that back, hey. So let me ask you this, Bruce Glass. Since you say it's Dak, okay. Who has had the greater receivers in their time in the NFL? Was it Tony Romo or is it Dak Prescott? You tell me. And so while we're waiting on the great football mind of Bruce Wayne Glass, so Romo has more passing attempts, more games played thus far, but Dak has more completions. Completion percentage. Dak Prescott 65.3% for his career thus far. Tony Romo, I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that right. But Tony Romo, 65.3% completion percentage. Dak Prescott, 67% completion rating. Completion percentage. Jeez Louise. All right. Now, we got Dak Prescott with 32,237 passing yards. Tony Romo, 34,000. We just going to go with 1,000 because I don't know what's going on with my lingual tonight. But, so, Tony Romo has more passing yards. But, if everything's considered equal, and Tony Romo and Dak Prescott equal out to the same amount of games played, it is looking like Dak Prescott is going to shatter every passing record, completions, percentage, attempts. If he just plays 31 more games, he is going to destroy everything that Romo has built. All right, let's go to touchdowns. Now, he is going to have to this is going to be at least 1.5 more seasons for Dak. And he's already off to a blistering pace, I assume. But Tony Romo, 248 touchdowns. Dak Prescott, 216 touchdowns. Interceptions, whoa. Hey, now this is one thing about Tony Romo. That boy he'll give it up. Tony Romo was giving it up. You hear me? He was passing it out. And y'all know what that was. So that's not close. I couldn't see a world. Well, who knows? We don't know. We only assume that Dak Prescott would continue to do what he's done so far, and that would yield him the benefit of you're gonna throw more interceptions because nobody's gonna be perfect at that, but you would like to think that he wouldn't do it at such a blistering pace. Romo, much like Dak, a lot of those games in the playoffs ended up the way that they did because of turnovers. So with that being said, you can't help but believe that at some point he won't eclipse him, but he'll get close enough. So that is skewed in the favor of Dak Prescott. Rain Dakota. Longest pass. Tony Romo, 85 yards. Dak Prescott, 92 yards. Yards per attempt. Now, we could bet that Romo was going to have more yards per attempt because he was the gunslinger himself. He said that Brett Favre was his idol. That was his favorite player. Both of them, well, he grew up in Wisconsin, so he grew up idolizing him. Okay, then or Chicago, whatever. Doesn't matter where Romo was from. We know where Brett was from, the Silk. So then we got passer rating. Dak Prescott also has a better passer rating, 97.8 versus 97.1 for Tony Romo. All right, let's see. He says, oops, let me move this out. All right, we're just gonna put it right here. We're gonna put it over the stats. Says Tony's best receiver was Brian, and Dak's best receiver is Lamb. So I say Dak has better receiver. Who is Brian? Oh, Bryant. Dez Bryant. I got you. Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. So better numbers, but also better receivers overall, because let's also not forget that Dez played for both. He played with Dak and he played with Romo. He just accumulated more time, touchdowns, and all of that with Romo because they were together. Tony was there from the inception. No, I got you. I got you. No, I got you. I understand. So, CeeDee Lamb is already and will be a better receiver. Now, when you talk about more dangerous, it's probably Dez, right? Better jump ball receiver, bigger, stronger, not faster, but bigger and stronger for sure. More dangerous, I would say, than CeeDee, but CeeDee a better receiver overall. I'm sure you will probably agree with that. And let me ask you this: is Dez Bryant a Hall of Famer? Let me ask you that. What do you say to that, Bruce? But if we look at the numbers in a vacuum, all right, Tony Romo played more games. He has more passing attempts right now. Dak has more completions, has a better completion percentage. Tony Romo has more passing yards for now. He has more touchdowns for now. He has more interceptions. Dak has the longest, pass. Tony Romo has more yards per attempt for now. And Rain Dakota has a better passer rating. So, by all intents and purposes, it is appearing that right now, Dak Prescott is by far not by far, but you get what I'm saying, a better quarterback. Let's also not forget, honorable mention, that Tony Romo, undrafted quarterback. Undrafted. So at the fact that at any point when we say Dak was drafted, doesn't matter where he was drafted, it's still going to be a little more impressive that Tony Romo had to get it out the mud. He had to come and fight for his life every single day to even get the opportunity to become a starter in this league. And that is what I believe we grew to love about him. And the fact that he wasn't scared to run. He was like, who Tony Romo reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of a far greater Johnny Manziel. He didn't Cause let's not forget, Tony he was elusive, man. He had a little wiggle to him. He wasn't just a burner or nothing like that, but he was really elusive, and he would chuck and dunk. They call it chunk and dunk. He would, man. So he was the first one to beat up on the NFC East. Let's never forget that. So you tell me what you think in the comments. I personally say that I don't even say personally. If you look at the numbers, I think that I would let me backtrack. I think that there's a bias towards Romo because there's a nostalgia of what we remember him doing, right? He kind of made you forget about how filthy that organization was at a certain time. But overall, the numbers say that Dak Prescott, if not now, in 1 or 2 more seasons, will be far greater than Tony Romo ever was. And that's saying something. So, with that being said, last stat, and I probably should have looked this up before we did that. Let's look at postseason. Let's look at postseason numbers here. Dak Prescott, postseason numbers, 7 games played. So he's already been to more playoff games than Tony Romo. And let's also not forget, Tony Romo had clavicle bone that he broke multiple times, back issues, stuff like that. So he did have a lot of injuries, much like Dak Prescott. Can't forget that. But Dak Prescott, 7 games. Playoff win-loss record, 2-5. Let's look at Tony Romo in games. We talking just games played, wins, and losses. Romo played 1 less game and has 1 game better percentage because he got 1 less loss. 2-4. Now, this is where, so who was a better quarterback in the playoffs? 1 less loss, but that means you went 1 less time. Who's to say if Romo doesn't play that year that he beats not beats Green Bay? Well, but then there is that one game where Aaron Rodgers, who killed us his entire career, where he did pull one more stupid trick throw out, and they kicked that field goal late. I'll never forget it because I was working at Boomer Jacks. It pissed me off. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, Romo, slightly better percentage of playoff win-loss record, slightly better passer rating. Now we look at completion rating. Oh, wait. It doesn't have a completion rating on here for Dak Prescott. Now, how do you do that now? Now, stats and facts, how do you do that? But you know what? I am going to just, I got you. Oh, we got a comment. Let's see. Bruce, you trying to be funny, dog. I like both of them in the playoffs so far. Yeah, you being funny, dog. Hold on. Let me ask Siri, see if she's gonna act right. Hey Siri. What was Dak Prescott's completion percentage in the playoffs all time? Let's see what she's talking about. Did you hear that? Yes. All right. Let's let her cook up real quick. See what she say. All right. So, as I suspected, Dak Prescott has a 64.5% completion rating. So he has a better completion rating than Romo in the playoffs. So better passer rating for Romo, better completion percentage for Dak. Interceptions. Tony Romo, to my surprise, only 2 interceptions in the playoffs. Now, does that mean he has more? Crap. See, now this is where I gotta apologize because I should have really just looked in there. I really should have just looked down in there for some stuff. So Tony Romo has 2 interceptions all time. Dak has 7. Dak has wet the bed a lot in the playoffs. Let me just tell you here. Then he has 8 touchdowns to Dak's 14. And when we look at passer yards, Dak Prescott has put up a bunch of garbage time numbers in the playoffs, and that's exactly what it is. The Cowboys are down because of those interceptions. See, and this is what used to tee me off, Bruce, when I would be talking to Two-Pick and when I would be talking to Sid and I'd be talking to Lady A about the playoffs. When I be talking about why Dak was a problem in the playoffs. These numbers are telling you right now. Because we all know how it goes, and I see your comment, we're going to get to it. But this is what ends up happening to the Cowboys in the playoffs with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is going to come out. He's going to throw a pick 6. He's going to throw 8 pick in general, or 2. We're going to be down 17-3. We're going to be down 14-0, 14-3, 21-6, going into halftime. When we come out, if we get the ball, we may or may not drive down. But if the opposing team gets the ball, they're going to come down and they're going to kick a field goal, or we may get a stop. The Cowboys are going to do real try-hard stuff. They're going to try like the little engine that could. They're going to try. And then the game's going to get tight. Butt cheeks are going to get squishy, okay? And then, I was going to say Romo, because they look about the same in the playoffs. Dak Prescott is going to be, he's going to either drive down and get us a field goal or whatever. The defense is going to get a stop, and then, or, unless we're playing again. See, there's so many scenarios. I'm sorry. I can tell you how each playoff game is played out. When I can't get my words out. I'm sorry. When I saw that last San Francisco game, and Dak I think he had a fumble in that game. But then you look at Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy didn't have a touchdown or an interception, and we lost the game. I'm like, Dak, you can't beat a rookie. Like, and I get it. It's not quarterback versus quarterback. It's quarterback versus defense. But it's like, bro, show up. Like, you got the experience, man. Like, you don't have to, like, figure something out. Dak Prescott, I think I was the most optimistic with Tony Romo, and he would give you the most ultimate disappointment because you really had faith, right? Because maybe they find a way to replicate the 90s Cowboys or something. But with Dak Prescott, I just didn't have faith that he would ever do any of that. So, anyway, my boy Bruce said, Tony also had Jason Witten in his prime years. Now, that is a factoid. Listen, there was nothing like a Jason Witten in his prime. We talking about losing his helmet against the Philadelphia Eagles, running another 20 yards. That was a monster of a tight end out of Tennessee, man. Like, he did go to Tennessee, right? I ain't just making that up. But the point is, it's looking like it's not even close. It's looking like Rain Dakota Prescott, regular season and playoffs, is absolutely stepping on Tony Romo. Tony Licious. Romo-sexuals. You remember it was a bunch of grown men running around talking about their Romo-sexuals. Funny stuff, dog. But let's get back to this Green Bay versus Cowboys game. And then I do want to chime in with my boy Bruce to see how y'all feeling, how you Commanders fans are feeling over there. I wish that boy Ron would tap in with me so I could have a conversation with y'all about how y'all feeling about y'all Commanders. Because I said, Mariota, dog, I'm sorry. It was only a matter of time. He's not a real starter in the NFL. He's a solid backup on a good team, and that is always going to get you wins. Look at Cooper Rush. Solid backup, good team. All you got to do is not mess up, and you should be able to get some wins. But anyway, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they were almost left for dead. First half, it was looking pretty shaky. It was looking pretty shaky. Wait, what is that? Oh, okay. My bad. I thought I seen it. I thought I heard that notification for a comment. But anyway, yeah, it was looking pretty shaky. But the Cowboys come down. They score. And then they get a sack fumble off of Jordan Love, and then they score again. Now, this is where George Pickens comes to life. He comes alive. It's alive, right? And they go in the half up 16-3. So, for those of you who didn't watch the game or revisionist history, they score twice, right? And it's 13-0. They're going to kick a field goal, except the Cowboys block the field goal. They run it back for 2. So that's how they got their first 2 points. Then they drive and score. Then they get a sack. They score again. So now they go in and it's 16-13. So now the momentum is pumping. George Pickens has a crazy catch on the sideline. All of that, right? Well, coming out for the half, the Cowboys also get the ball. So this is an opportunity to, if nothing else, you get a field goal, and now you're up 19-13, and you need 7. If nobody else scores any points, they at least got to score 7 to go ahead. Well, the Cowboys lay an egg, and this, to me, is one of the pivotal things in a game like this that nobody expected to be this super duel. For the Cowboys to come out at that moment and to do nothing kind of shows you why they may not be ready, as Jerry would say they are, to be all in. The disappointing thing is that the Cowboys have a MO. They have a modus operandi, okay? If you've been watching the Cowboys long enough, outside of them just flat out not losing the game and it being a tie, almost was the best case scenario. And, much respect to the Commanders, man. Much respect to the Eagles. Giants, have they found their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart? His numbers were real pedestrian, but he had a rushing touchdown. He threw for 100 and something yards. Even Russell Wilson can do that for you. But it's the morale, it's the true threat, it's the situational football, the threat to run. When somebody's bought in, if they are buying into Jackson Dart as their guy, it's just something about how it makes the guys block a little harder, or it makes the guys run better routes. It's a belief that comes when the young guy who's shown that they have an opportunity, that they have the capability of really being able to do something that could give the New York Giants hope. We'll see what the next game holds for them. But one thing that's for sure is Russell Wilson isn't their guy. Russ ain't been cooking in years, so it just is what it is. So anyway, my point is, much respect to the other teams in the NFC East and how they've been able to, appear to be on an uptick and be consistently a little bit better, or a lot of bit better than the Cowboys, how they've built their teams from the ground up. Please, let's never forget that the Washington Commanders absolutely were a franchise in shambles. I don't think that Bruce Glass would argue with that point at all. That was a decrepit franchise. They go and get the guy who was either the GM or the president of operations over for San Francisco, and they've been off to the races. Austin Eckler and Ertz and Jaden Daniels. You re-sign your money man and McLaurin. Got rid of Jahan Dotson, who was your top your top draft pick or your second round draft pick or whatever from some years back. That team did what they needed to do to make themselves relevant, and then an NFC championship appearance later, they've eclipsed the Cowboys. So you gotta forgive me if, being a Cowboy fan my entire life, I don't have a problem showing love for teams who know how to win the right way. Then you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and you look at Laurie, who has successfully been to 3 Super Bowls in the last 12 years, something like that. I don't know how long ago it was, that first one for the Eagles that Nick won, Nick Foles. But what can you say? I think you can't hate. You can't hate on execution. You can't hate on guys who know how to do it. They know how to do it. The quarterback who, when he came into the league, couldn't throw the ball into the ocean, in Jalen Hurts, has been to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, with a run-first offense. A.J. Brown gets one catch a game now. They still find a way to win. Now, my argument is that they are fluky. I don't believe that they continue to win, and I definitely don't believe that they go back to another Super Bowl if they don't find a way to get that offense better jump-started, because they're going to start catching on to that tush-push stuff. Because now we're starting to the false starts. They're starting to plant seeds. This may be the last year we see the tush-push, and that's not my original thought, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. The NFL is going to find a way to take back that and make it more of a parody type play. They're either going to police it in a way where you got to really be on your P's and Q's, and when the guards don't get a certain jump, it changes the relevancy of that play. So my point is, Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders, y'all have done everything y'all could do to be relevant, to execute, and I could never hate or be mad at you for that. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys, you go out, you pay Dak Prescott all of this money, Rain Dakota Prescott, you pay CD Lamb, you get rid of Micah Parsons, you give him to the enemy, and you say after the game, or whenever Jerry makes this quote, he says, it's simple. Rain Dakota Prescott is indispensable. He's a guy that you got to have. Micah Parsons just wasn't that. There's no emotion in it. It's just the reality. Now, he's lying, because Jerry's an absolutely emotional man. He feels a way. He did, for whatever the reason, he didn't like whatever Parsons' stance is on not wanting to talk to him, going through his agent and all this and that. I don't know where the oil and gas guy, gets all of this chutzpah from to believe that he's bigger than the system. But I definitely believe that there was an issue with him always feeling like he has to be this grand negotiator to close. I think it makes him feel more relevant if he's able to say, yeah, me and Micah got it done, and my father was a great salesman. Listen, one of my buddies said that watching America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, or whatever it was called, right? I haven't finished it yet. It was a great watch, but I didn't walk away from it loving Jerry more. I think that Jerry's just itching for a stage at this point in his life. And I think it's been like that for the 10 or 15 years. When you look at the doc, it talks about Jerry wanting to go meet with Jimmy, who was his best friend or a really good friend of his. They played together at Arkansas back in the day. And Jerry, it was an understanding between them that, hey, if I was ever going to get a team and I was going to start one, or, I was going to become an owner, that Jimmy was going to be his guy, right? So even that is like, Jimmy had a proven record of winning at Miami, right? So it's not rocket science to say if, Tom Landry is getting long in the tooth and all of this and that. I think Jerry has always been a fan of and a great executor of headlines. And when you start to put the marketing together and you get the money to go get all of these top tier players, the Deion Sanders of the world, the Ken Nortons of the world, the Charles Haleys of the world, in that game, he's always knew how to play it and do it well. But at the end of the day, this is a new world. You usher in the salary cap. And then here's the thing, Jerry. Being America's team and having players who they've always desired to play for the Cowboys only gets you so far. Because you know what people like, some people, and it's not a large amount of people, but you know what some people who are great players, what they love even more than money? Winning. The Tom Brady's of the world loved winning. He never made the money that he could have possibly made because he cared more about championships. Not the idea of, if they're talking about us, good publicity is the same as bad publicity. It's just publicity. They're talking about us, that makes us valuable. Jerry, you have missed the mark so long ago that it is egregious. And us as Cowboy fans have had to sit by idly and just take the medicine. So it's unfortunate. But I say that there's still some hope for the Cowboys even in this season. I could be wrong, Bruce. I'm not saying that. I, I'm drinking the Dak Prescott, the Rain Dakota Prescott Kool-Aid right now. I'm not. Hey, he looked bad against the Bears, but you know who looked even worse against the Bears than Dak Prescott? The defense. And here's what I want people to understand: the Cowboys' defense wasn't good last year. Let's go 2 years ago. Newsflash: the Cowboys' defense wasn't good 2 years ago. About 3 years ago. 1, 2, 3. Here's another newsflash: the Cowboys' defense wasn't good 3 years ago. You know what the Cowboys have never invested in since the glory days? Solid safety. You know what the Cowboys haven't invested in since the glory days? Solid 3 technique. That is young. That is able to grow into its prime. They've went and got cornerbacks. They've went and got running backs in Zeke. They've went and got receivers in Dak and CD. I mean, not Dak. They've went and got running backs. I'm sorry. They went and got receivers in CD Lamb and Dez Bryant. But they've never invested truly in a top safety. You know, like the Earl Thomases of the world, who I wanted really bad. The Vita Veas. They didn't invest in those guys, and they had every chance and opportunity to do that. They don't want to touch surefire things. It's got to be something to it. It's got to be a Michael. He's got off-the-field issues. That's the type of stuff the Cowboys like to feed into. So nobody can still convince me that even though the Cowboys did, in fact, trade Micah Parsons, that they won't be honest and say they didn't never believe that he was the guy either. They didn't believe he was the guy. But I'm glad you didn't pay him. That guy was rendered ineffective in that game. I had put a post up on Facebook, and somebody said, he looked tired, Doc. I said, he always looks tired. Micah Parsons always looks tired. He's always gassed. I don't care if it's a back issue. I don't care. He's always tired. He can't stop the run. He's light in the butt trying to stop the run as a defensive end. He's a pass rusher. So, for a large portion of that game, he was ineffective. You can scheme and game plan him out of a game. If the Cowboys can find a way to show up as half of that, 55 to 60% of that offense on a regular basis, and they will be a problem. Because they'll be able to effectively outscore the bad teams, and they'll be able to battle with the good offensive teams like the Green Bay Packers are. But the key has been and always will be, how effective will Rain Dakota Prescott be when he steps out onto that field? Because what we are seeing this season is very similar to what we saw from him 2 years ago when he was a MVP candidate, a true MVP candidate. And then he had the calf injury, I believe it was. So it was either 2 or 3 years ago. He had the calf injury, and then when he came back, he just never was the same. I don't think he ever really fully healed properly. And you just never know what you're going to get from that quarterback. But playing like he played, and let's look at the stats. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's look up these stats on what he actually did on Sunday. Dak Prescott, in comparison to Jordan Love. So let's look at Jordan Love's numbers first, and then we'll go to Dak Prescott. Jordan Love's numbers against the Cowboys on Sunday: 31 completions out of 43 attempts. So in 43 dropbacks, 12 incompletions. 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. But one sack, one fumble. So so keep in mind, no interceptions but a fumble. Then you got Rain Dakota Prescott, 31 completions out of 40 passing attempts, 319 yards completed. So he had 18 less completions on 3 less attempts. And then he equaled them with 3 throwing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. So if I'm being honest with myself, he outplayed Jordan Love in that game. Jordan Love ended up having 3 more attempts and 18 more passing yards because he had the ball last. That defense, and I'll say it again, you have to put pressure on the quarterback on 4th down. You do not have Trevon Diggs, a shell of himself. A shell of the guy who had 11 interceptions in one season, Everson Walls records and all of this stuff. We don't know this guy. Now, to be fair, he was always an athlete, a specimen, who was a receiver at Alabama, as I've said before, who converted to cornerback. Not saying that it's a bad thing, but at the end of the day, if he can't stay healthy, every time we look up and it's a big play happening down the field, he's out of position or he's trying to catch up, and that ain't going to cut it. DaRon Bland, listen, now we got both of you guys healthy, quote unquote, at one time. We got DaRon Bland and Trevon Diggs who are supposed to be healthy. Let's see all of these great picks. And I mean, DaRon Bland had what, 5 or 6 pick six, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that? You just got the contract extension. We're paying you guys like you are top tier. Show it. Because they need help. If you're not going to be able to get a great pass rush, we already know that puts the cornerbacks in precarious situations where they have to cover far longer than what is actually realistic or capable. A cornerback is going to be effective when the quarterback has to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, because it takes away the thinking and the coverage of a cornerback or safeties. These guys haven't shown to cover well, especially not to cover long. That's just not a recipe for success in the NFL. These guys are so elite at route running. These offensive play callers are so elite at dialing up something to get somebody open. You have to be able to get a pass rush. And I repeat, stop telling me about we gave up Micah Parsons. The guy is not good against quality opponents, and the numbers show it. For averaging 12 to 13 sacks a season, he has 1 in the playoffs. And in that game, we were up like 17 points against over the hill at that point Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was over. That whole hope of them doing it again was over. They limped into the playoffs and then ran into the Cowboys. And we sent them correctly into a buzzsaw. So, think what you want, feel what you want, that's fine. All I'm saying is, we need more than one guy to be effective to get a good pass rush. DeMarcus Lawrence goes to Seattle, who's looking pretty good right now. I think they might have got smacked yesterday. I can't remember. But they're looking pretty good right now. Sam Darnold. Then, so he says you're not going to win with the Cowboys. Can't lie. I think he's sounding like a little prophet over here. Then Micah Parsons is gone. Now, what I will say is, you lost 2 guys that were 2 of your better players on defense, period. And if we're being honest, Micah Parsons, for as irrelevant as I think he can be at times, he was definitely your best defensive player on this team. So you lose 2 of your greater, because let's also not forget that Micah Parsons, although he couldn't stop the run, was pretty efficient at at being a good pass rusher against decent opponents, not great ones. And then DeMarcus Lawrence was, in fact, your run stopper, who out of Boise State was initially supposed to be your elite pass rusher. But he couldn't do that, but he could stop the run. So you lose 2 guys who are good at different things for different reasons. So, with that being said, where do the Cowboys go from here? You've proven that you can score with the best of them, but you have also proven that you can't stop a nosebleed. So where do the Cowboys go from here? In the comments, somebody tell me, do the Cowboys look to do a trade or two? Is there a team that you think is willing to take on some picks, to take on some players so that we can add to the defensive pass rush? Because they do need a defensive pass rush. Nealon is looking promising. Fowler's not looking like much of anything. Houston is looking effective. The defense has some spots that look promising. Damone Clark. I do believe that the Ezaraku is looking pretty decent. He's looking like a baller. I can't remember the kid that played corner that hurt his knee. It's just a bunch of possibles out there. It's like playing the worst game of spades ever with the Cowboys defense. But I remain hopeful. Mainly because I have no choice. And I don't want to be pissed off at the Cowboys all year because of this. Nobody expected for a tie, number one. And nobody expected for them to put up 40 points against that defense. Can we get into this is par for the course for your Cowboys? Speaking of par for the course, I went golfing yesterday. I loved it. Anybody out there, if you've been golfing, please let me know in the comments. How in the world do you track that ball? After you hit the ball, if you're lucky to get it up in the air, I mean, how do you track that thing? I know I'll be watching the golfers and they be... But that was fun. But let's be honest about the Cowboys. This is what we could expect from them. This is par for the course for your Dallas Cowboys. They give you a lot of hope. They get your juices flowing. And then they let you down. So unfortunately, whether it was a loss or whether it was a tie, we expected the Cowboys to disappoint us yesterday. So overall, this is my forecast for the rest of the season. I would say this is my hope rather than my forecast. I would hope that we would trade with somebody like the Jets or something. Get a Quinnen Williams in here. You know, get which I know he wouldn't leave I know he wouldn't leave the Jets because I think he's built in over there. But get a Sauce Walker. I said a Sauce Walker. That's a Houston vet, a Houston legend over there. No, Sauce Gardner. Get a Sauce Gardner over here. You know, just somebody, bro, that is young, athletic, really truly talented, that could like man up one side of the field, that could absolutely get you a stop on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. The Cowboys need to make a move because if this offense can be halfway as effective, if Dak Prescott can come into his own, I truly believe that this has the potential to do something. I think we can do something for 2-something. Because it's still early. There's still enough time for us to build fake hope that these guys are going to actually do something. Now, with that being said, let's move on. So let's talk about these Commanders, dog. Bruce Glass, step up to the plate, dog. Step up, man. Give me a salute in the chat, dog, because we got to talk about it. We got to talk about these Washington Commanders, man. We got to talk about, is your quarterback coming back this week? Because here's what we got to start realizing, right? If you look at the Lamar Jackson situation, right? Hamstring injury. You look at the Jaden Daniels injury, right? You start looking at a lot of these key players, like even for the Kansas City Chiefs, if you look at them losing Xavier Worthy, right, for a considerable amount of time due to injury. If you look at them losing Rashee Rice last year due to injury, man, you have to learn how to capitalize in pockets where winning or going to the Super Bowl, going to the AFC, NFC Championship are possible, because you never can control the outcome beyond the situation that you're in at that present moment. What am I talking about? You look at a Lamar Jackson last year playing against the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, for an opportunity to go to the AFC Championship, and you throw that ball, you throw that ball to Andrews, and he drops it. And the fact that they tried to turn that around on Lamar Jackson to say it was his fault is a problem. That's the first thing. And we're still going back to Commanders here, but I'm laying the foundation for this. To blame Lamar Jackson for he's putting it in the vicinity to drop the ball. Whether it's like this body catch, it doesn't matter. Andrews dropped that ball. Own it. Take accountability. It is what it is. Right? So then when we look at somebody like the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels. You got Terry McLaurin, who's looking for a second opinion because he didn't messed his leg up. You lose Austin Eckler for the year. It's the small things that start tallying up, man, that I want us to understand that most things in life are based around a level of momentum, whether good or bad. What you don't want is for Jaden Daniels to come back and start feeling like he has to press the issue because you got McLaurin out or you have Eckler gone for the season, which was a safety blanket. When people that claim they know football and they start making comments like, oh, it's just Austin Eckler. It's like, you don't know what his role has been in the NFL, how effective he's been at being a pass-catching running back as well as a runner that can run the ball out of the backfield. To lose to Austin Eckler is a blow to whatever team that he's on because he's always been efficient in that way as the Chargers. But when you can start getting these guys, I'm so glad that Saquon had the year that he had. I'm so glad that what's that big lumber of a guy for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm so glad that his name is right there. This is why I hate do it off the cuff stuff sometimes because I lose my train of thought. But Henry, I'm so glad that he had the year that he had. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I'm so glad that these guys brought back the value of the running back. Because the idea that you could just take any running back off of the street in the draft and just throw them in there and that they're going to produce you 1,000 yards in the NFL is just a lie. It's egregious. It's just like saying you can take a quarterback from anywhere and they're going to throw for 4,000 yards. They're going to throw for 20 touchdowns. That's not real. It's not real. Some of these guys are truly worth their weight. And so you look at an Austin Eckler, that's a guy that is a multi-purpose back that you lose for the season. So let me ask you, Bruce Glass, how do you see Jaden performing the rest of the year? Does it change your prediction of y'all getting to the NFC Championship again or something like that? Because I believe that if it goes any further, especially with y'all losing to a team like the Atlanta Falcons, who I'm not saying they're not a bad team, okay? I'm not saying that the Atlanta Falcons are a bad team. But what I am saying is I'm not so Uncle Charles. What's up, y'all? Birmingham, Alabama. Man, what's up, man? Uncle Charles? I do actually have an Uncle Charles, by the way. He said, what's up, y'all? Birmingham, Alabama. Man, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. That ain't my Uncle Charles that I know. But, man, I appreciate you for tapping in, Unc. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. All right, my bad. I'm missing comments here. So give me a chance. Let me go back. All right, I seen that one. What? All right, let me see. He said he did save the touchdown in the game yesterday. That's true. And he's talking about Michael Parsons. So he could have saved the game yesterday, the touchdown in the game. There was a level of, I think it was either a defensive back and a tight and a linebacker that were there to potentially stop Dak from scoring. Now, would they have got there in time? Would it have been some level of high collision before he actually made it to the end zone? It's possible, okay? I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Parsons. I'm not. But I'm just saying I've seen a large portion of what he has done in his career. I've watched almost pretty much every Cowboy game since he's been there. And the guy does not show up in the moments that matter most. That's just my humble opinion. But I do respect what you're saying there. He did save a touchdown potentially. We already seen Uncle Charles. Appreciate you, my guy. Do me a favor for sure. Hit that like and subscribe so you can get dope content that comes from the network. And then you were helping a brother out in Derrick Henry because I could not get his name out. But back to what we were saying as far as the running back and what I believe for the Washington Commanders. So, first of all, I don't think you should lose to a team like the Atlanta Falcons, who are a very borderline team that is very much based off of a Drake London, Mooney, If you look at the running game, of course, you got Algier. You have Bijan Robinson. I mean, of course, you got that crazy linebacker. I mean, I said crazy linebacker. That crazy tight end over there that poses a lot of problems in Kyle Pitts. And I just wonder, is this a coming of age for Atlanta, who just got blown out the week before, didn't score? Or is this just kind of showing the chink of the armor? Or is this just a team that you're going to win and lose in the NFL? You didn't have your quarterback, and sometimes it's just going to catch up to you. Mariota is not the savior. He's not going to be able to pile together wins in the league. If he did, he would have never lost his spot. And that's another thing that we have to look at is Oregon quarterbacks, because they have not proven to be that effective. But that's neither here nor there. Overall, I say, Jaden, you better get back quick. And y'all better get healthy quick. Because if you don't, this is a league where momentum builds. And if the momentum builds and it's not in your favor, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in of the NFC. That is, we know the stats, right? There's 4 teams, I believe, if I remember this stat correctly, there are 4 new teams that get into the playoffs every year and 4 teams that don't end up making it. You have the Seahawks, who are looking, I can't even lie to you, I'm super surprised that Sam Darnold is still looking good. I don't understand. It's some of these things just baffle me, right? That kid was left for dead, okay? And he found a way to find lightning in a bottle in Minnesota, went to the playoffs and laid an egg, but somehow he has found his rhythm. Daniel Jones has looked like crap, the crap de la crap of the NFL. And in my mind, there was no way that they should have gave him an extension playing in New York. Goes to Indianapolis and looking like an early MVP candidate. Can't make this stuff up. So it's about moments. It's about moments. Really quickly, you look at a Geno Smith, comeback player of the year. You look, hey, thank you, Austin. Thank you, Ashton Genty. You have just saved me from making a terrible mistake in trading you. If it is true what they said, and they were just kind of taking care of the man, they didn't want to just run him into a brick wall every week. I think it's about to get pretty scary hours for people who are playing me in fantasy. Anyway, listen, man. Cowboys, they are showing hope. They're giving. I can't lie to you. Rain Dakota Prescott, I stand humbled because you are showing up, my guy. You are showing up. What is Jerry going to do to help the cause of this team? Green Bay, y'all got some cleaning up to do because this is the second week in a row. First of all, the week before, your defense your offense was stifled by the Cleveland Browns. You give that game away. Then it was 1 second left on that clock before y'all kicked that field goal. Jordan Love has brain farts. Jordan Love has brain farts in games. If you're being honest, that is a large portion of how up and down they can be is based on the arm of Jordan Love. So does he figure this out over the next game or so? Because they were looking pretty dominant before only scoring 10 or 13 the week before, getting stifled by Cleveland, to turning around and giving up 40 and almost losing against the Dallas Cowboys, who are supposed to be a bottom of the barrel team. I don't know. Yeah, and then let's not forget the Cleveland Browns. Dylan Gabriel trotted onto the field. It's almost Shador time. I just buzzed down my AP. It's perfect timing. It's almost that time. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you. You can't keep a good man down, dog. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, listen, man. Housekeeping. does anybody have anything that they want to get off their hearts or their mind about this sports season? It don't even have to just be football, but we definitely tackled the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Green Bay Packers, Michael Parsons, Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Rain Dakota Prescott, or Tony Romo. Tony Romo is not better than Dak Prescott. The numbers say it, and if we're really watching, there's a nostalgia attached to Tony Romo, but he's not a better quarterback in this NFL than Rain Dakota Prescott. Listen, man, appreciate anybody who's been tapping in to watch the network. Let's see what Bruce Glass says. The Vikings should have kept him. So here's why I don't disagree with them letting him go. Because where do you make your money if you're a quarterback in the NFL? Where do you make your money? The regular season matters, but you make your bones in the playoffs. You make your bones. And that guy reverted back to who we knew before the regular season last year with the Minnesota Vikings. I can't hitch my now, mind you, I can't say you're wrong. I can't say you're wrong because look at what he's doing. But let me ask you this: if he played effective like he's been playing in the regular season for the next 10 years, and then he goes to the playoffs and he does the exact same thing, do you still feel like they should have kept Sam Darnold? Because if that's the case, then I mean I'll trade you your quarterback for mine. I'll take Jaden, and then I'll give you Dak Prescott. Because let's be clear, we've seen Dak play phenomenal in the regular season 1,000 times. We're not gonna do that. We ain't gonna act like we ain't seen him light up teams before in the NFL. He's absolutely done that. But to put it together in a way that it equals playoff success, we've yet to see it. We've yet to see it from Dak. We've yet to see it from Darnold. But we've seen something from Jaden. We've seen something from Jalen. We've seen something from Lamar. See, people can talk about these Super Bowls all they want to. Can we make it out of the NFC divisional round? Cowboys haven't made it out of the divisional round since '95. 2005, 2015, 2025. Oh, it's been 30 years. It's officially been 30 years going into the playoffs this year. So if you would pardon me, I don't want to hear about, oh, there's only one winner. Yeah, fam, but get me to the NFC Championship and then we'll talk about it. Let's see what Bruce's saying. I don't think the Viking quarterback they have now is going to be the quarterback to have for the future. The quarterback to be for the future. I don't know why I can't get my words out tonight. But so you don't like McCarthy? Because they were willing to let Sam go off of the promise of McCarthy, who didn't look that great at Michigan. If we're being 1,000% honest, McCarthy didn't look that great at Michigan. But he came from a Power 5 team, so, it comes with its perks. They were a running team, not a passing team. It's funny because if you watch that doc, the Cowboys doc, people be having so much negative stuff to say about Troy Aikman. And I'm like, do you know who Troy Aikman was at UCLA? He wasn't this dink and dunk guy. He just wasn't. He was a big arm guy with accuracy. But when you have a Corvette back there and you have a Ferrari out there, what are we talking? Well, no, we do call him a G-Wagon. When you got a Corvette and a G-Wagon, hey fam, we gotta let them look good. Jay Novacek going across the middle. What are we talking about here? You don't say, I'll show you, Alvin Harper, go get 100. Mike, go get 100. You never needed to do that. That was a formula to winning. Stop disrespecting Troy Aikman. He was phenomenal. If it was anybody else and they did, remember Warfel? What are we talking about here? Stop acting like, come on, y'all. Y'all gotta put some respect on them boys' names, dog. I think he's overrated. Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think he's that great at all. But see, that is what happens though when you put out that film. It makes guys say, I'd rather take a risk on the rookie than to roll with a guy who we've seen him do terribly in the playoffs before. Or did he play in the playoffs before? He just wasn't that great of a quarterback. I don't think he played in the playoffs before because he was with who was he with? He got drafted by the Jets. He went to the Panthers. Am I correct? He played for the Jets and the Panthers, right? Either way, he wasn't a good quarterback in the NFL. So for him to do what he did, it's kind of like the journeyman guys, right? The guys who go. It's just a bunch of guys in the NFL who at quarterback they get all these chances, and it's like, well, finally you put it together, but it doesn't mean that you're really gonna be that guy. Joe Flacco. I love that people act like they don't remember who Joe Flacco was before that lightning in a bottle season for Baltimore. He wasn't that great of a quarterback. He was a deep ball guy. He wasn't great at throwing slouts and bang eights and he was a 9 route guy. And he had Ray Rice back there. I mean, this stuff, and you had a phenomenal defense. Ray Lewis on the back end of his career still was better than half the linebackers in the league by far. So you got those type of guys. Of course they're gonna win in the NFL, but to put it together consistently, I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it from these guys. So I think there's a few guys. That are in pivotal positions right now. Lamar Jackson. Nut cutting time, my guy. Nut cutting time. Patrick Mahomes. Are y'all going to build off of what y'all just did to a team where Lamar was pretty much hurt, hamstring injury, whatever? What are y'all resurging now? Is that championship team, or was that a flash in the pan? Cincinnati, can you put it together until Burrow possibly gets back? Jets, Panthers, 49ers, Vikings, and Seahawks, Darnold teams. So Jets I knew, Panthers for sure, 49ers wasn't worth and the Vikings. So the only team that I was missing, well, yeah, of course we knew he played for the Vikings last year because we were talking about it, but the Seahawks. So the 49ers were the only team that I missed. But, I'm not going to lie to you, Bruce, too. It's just interesting to me when you look at a guy like him, the obvious that we can see about him. He's a white quarterback in the NFL, big guy, big arm, all that type of stuff. He gets so many chances to journey around in the NFL and figure it out. Now, I'm not mad at it, and I'm not making it seem like race is the biggest factor, but it's like it plays a part a little bit, They ready to retire Russ, though. Russ didn't won a championship. They ready to retire him, though. Now, I'm not going to lie. Sam Darnold been looking better than Russ. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't trying to hate, but I'm just saying. So anyway, Bengals losing right now to Broncos 28-3. Oh, brother. Oh, my word. Let me check, too. She's still going to lose? Okay. I need to call her to win. I'm not going to lie. It's over, though. Wow. All right, let me check. Okay. So, I'm looking for whoever had Broncos defense. Somebody had Broncos defense, and they needed the Broncos to show out for them to have a chance to win. Broncos, they only got 10 points. Okay. So, it's not showing that they just maintaining that they 10 points. But anyway, listen, man. I got nothing. At the end of the day, I don't know if Jerry's gonna do what he's supposed to do to make sure that the Cowboys can actually still do something to make this season relevant. But I'll tell you what, the Philadelphia Eagles, the next game isn't gonna be that close. Sorry. If you had you had the chance to beat them on opening night and you spit the bit. It's that simple. You got smacked by the Bears. It's unacceptable. We don't play good against the Bears anyway. I know we beat them a couple years ago, but whatever. We don't play good against the Bears ever. We need to help this pass rush. Period, Jerry. And you need to do whatever it is because Jaden Daniels will make us look stupid. It just is what it is. That kid is good. And who knows? We don't have tape on Jackson Dart. So he may get us too. That's just how bad the defense is. But we will see. Listen, man, I'm finna get out of here. We finna get out of here. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with the kid tonight. I was stumbling all over my words tonight. I don't know what that is, but it is what it is. You feel me? I will be back this week with the Church Flow episode. I will be back this week with the Late Night Shift Live episode. And I have a couple of Mind of a Man episodes that I just haven't put out yet. But thank you for tuning into the network. This is another episode from the Mind of a Man network, man. I love you. May the Lord keep you. Life is hard enough, man, so don't just live elevated. Until next time, I'll see you next week. Peace.